Hey everybody, this is Sarah, and welcome back to the PMO podcast, the PMO Refuge. And I'm so happy that you are here. If you are new, because I haven't spoken to anybody who maybe is a new listener, to this podcast, and you're struggling with your addiction, and maybe you're in several different phases, right? Maybe you're in the depression stage where you just feel like you are the scum of the earth. You feel like there's absolutely nothing good that's happening to you. Maybe you're in that motivation phase where you got past the depression and now you are forming a plan and are motivated to carry it out, right? So, this is the phase where after you get out of that depression, you start saying to yourself, okay, now I got that out of my system. Now I've kind of stopped feeling bad for myself. And now I am going to come up with a plan and follow through on it, right? So maybe you're feeling good about yourself, so now you're ready to go. Or maybe you're a person who you've been doing good for a while. You haven't had any relapses for a bit, and because of that, you are maybe afraid, of relapsing. It's almost going too smoothly, right? So maybe you're there, no matter where you're at, and no matter how long you've been dealing with this addiction. Just know that that's why I made this whole channel. And I always say this every single episode, but I like to reiterate this. I don't care about the views on this channel. In fact, I know that this topic, I'm fighting upstream here. This is, ironically, even though this is for self-help, this is not the kind of thing that is pushed forward. It's something that people are ashamed of and they don't like to talk about and pretty much pretend like it doesn't exist. So I do this just to even help one person. Now today, if you are new, I do recommend, though, starting over on my very first video that's entitled My PMO Journey. But today's topic is ironically going to fit very well with that very first title, because what you need to do, what this week is going to entail, is you need to go to the very beginning. You need to find your origin story. Now, why is this important? Because I know even for myself, when I was in this position, my origin, I did not really know about, and I didn't want to think about it. I was ashamed of where I had started off. I was ashamed that it had developed into what it had been at that time. And so it was just something I didn't really want to talk about. I didn't really want to think about. Now, some people will also wonder, why even do this? Why even worry about an origin? I'm already in the middle of it, so who cares? Well, it's very, very crucial, right? And no doubt, that, right? That deep down, that it is important, no matter how you try to fight it. And getting to the beginning of anything is the key to making real progress in the present, which sounds kind of contradictory, but it's true. That's why whenever somebody faces a problem, they always try to figure out where it came from. So let's take that concept now and apply it to PMO, because, maybe that's what you're even wondering. Well, how do I even start? What does going to the beginning entail? Well, number one, before we get to that, is we're going to go into why is it important to go to the beginning. And to do that, I'm going to use my own example here. So when I first came out to my friends and my family and, therapists, especially my very first therapist. Now, he's not the main one that helped me to get through PMO, but I do think he was crucial in getting me started, because that was one of the first questions that he asked. Was he wanted to know, well, where did this even come from? Where did this addiction start? Can you remember where it started? Now, the scary thing, and this is so sad if this is true of you, is some people develop a sex addiction because they were molested, they were touched at a young age. And if you are in that situation, I am so terribly sorry if you are dealing with that. Now, I did not personally, or at least I don't know if my mind has blocked it out enough, but I'm fairly confident that I did not. So I started to really think, and I started to really wonder about where it all started. And I had a pretty good idea, but I wanted to kind of see if I could dig any further. You know what I mean? I wanted to see if there was any more to kind of uncover. But later on, I found out, my suspicions were right, that I kind of knew where it all started. But in so doing, I found out, why I had developed the certain fetish that I had. And sometimes it's okay. I kind of want to backtrack here before I go any further. If you have a healthy sexual relationship, there is nothing wrong with having a fetish or a kink in a healthy way, right? Because there are some people that use that to kind of spice up their sex lives. There is nothing wrong with that. Because again, the key word is they are able to do it in a healthy way. Whereas those who struggle with the sex addiction are not carrying it out in a healthy way. So I thought about it, and finally I thought too, there was a certain movie that had tied in a scene where a character goes through something and it's a life and death situation. It's a scary scene, but then they tie in sexual themes over it. And I'm sorry if I'm kind of not being specific. It's something I don't even know if I'm ready yet to kind of share to the world. I don't know if I ever will, but those who struggle with this, you know what I'm talking about, right? That's how it all starts, is there's something that is seen repetitively, and not every single time, but the majority of the time, there is sexual tones over the specific situation, the specific action. Maybe it's a life and death situation, who knows? But they mix all of it together. Now, of course, the majority of people are going to watch something or read something or hear something, and it's not going to awaken anything in them, or some people, even if it does, their mind quickly shuts it out, like they're able to overcome it. But sad to say, I was at a very young age, at a very impressionable time, and I did not do that. And so later my brain developed it. It sought to find out my fetish, as everybody, who has an addiction does. And that's kind of how it all evolved into where I was at when everything came to a head. Now, why is that important? Why do that? Why dig up all that? Well, now I was able to know what my triggers were. So like, let's say if I was even in my day-to-day business and I heard something, I saw something that triggered me, I understood what was happening to my mind. I understood that my mind was making that connection, where it heard about a situation, it saw a certain situation, and it thought, oh, this involves sexual activity, right? Because that's what I was trained to do. Especially now if you have involved self-pleasure into it. You are essentially grooming your body and your mind to follow that bad craving. And especially if you let it run rampant, it's almost instantaneous. So what you need to do then is, once you find out the origin, you kind of have to start to work backwards. So then you have to start training your mind and your body. Hey, whenever this certain fetish, whenever this certain situation comes up, I need you to stop chasing it. That's kind of even the first step. Reduce the number of times you chase after that sexual feeling, that sexual thought. Start telling yourself, hey, you know what? Maybe in the past I would have followed this, but right now I'm not going to follow it. Or even if it is so bad, and trust me, I was there. If it was so bad where you can't cut it out completely, start maybe reducing the number of times you follow that sexual thought. Maybe start reducing the amount of times you edge every single day, every single week, until eventually you're starting to hit zero, right? Because what you're doing is eventually, your mind is an amazing thing. Because I know it seems impossible, especially when you are right in the thick of things. But it's almost like you are healing your brain. You've inflicted so much damage to it with PMO, with flooding it with dopamine. But you are slowly healing your brain from that dopamine rush. Those dopamine receptors are healing. Until one day, maybe you won't be able to get rid of the thought completely, but you are much quicker and are stronger to be able to say, you know what, I'm not following that sexual thought. And over time, as you continue to train yourself, eventually it won't even be a bother to you at all. But if anything, even if it does bother you, the number one thing that has started to happen now is you have become self-aware. So now there's really no excuse. You know what it is that's triggering you. You are self-aware. Now, before I conclude this episode again, I want to reiterate, this is going to be painful. This is going to be embarrassing. It's going to be a little shameful. I hated thinking the thought of, I started this whole addiction when I was like 9, 10, 11 years old. I hated the thought of that 10-year-old me struggling with this addiction. Falling victim to it, falling trapped to it, starting to lie, learning how to get good at lying. I hated that, but I dug in anyway. No matter, even if I hated it. And it's so important that you do. So no matter what because that's the amazing thing about this exercise. It doesn't matter what your addiction, what your fetish is. It doesn't matter. Just start, telling your brain that. Start finding out what your origin is and then work backwards, So again, you come across something. Maybe you even purposely are seeking things out. And I did. I sought things out on the internet. Maybe start telling yourself, you know what? No more internet searching for this fetish. Especially if you are involved in pornography. No more pornography on this certain subject. Then, no more pornography in general. Then, no more searching softcore porn on the internet. No more chasing things on social media. Then you work it back even further. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to search after or chase after, rather, this sexual thought that I have. I'm going to reject it. And you see how much stronger you're getting. Now, you may not abruptly quit your addiction right away, but you see how much better that is for your head. You are gaining self-control. I urge you this week to start doing this exercise. Feel free to, and this goes out to everybody, not even just for this video. Feel free to reach out to me in the comments. Whether if you want to go back on like a short video, because I release short videos along with my full-length videos. If you just want to send me a comment, and just let me know how you're doing. I think pretty soon when this series is over, this is kind of giving you a glimpse into what's ahead. And I'm going to give a full video once this entire video series is over about what I want to do next. But I might set up an email that you can reach out to as well, where you can share with me, open up to me what you're going through. But even if, maybe you're not so totally embarrassed, if you want to reach out to me in the comments and share with me how you're doing or how this exercise went, please do. This is Sarah for this week, and I will see you all next week.